Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another Stock Kings YouTube video. And today we're going to be going over AMC, a huge popular meme stock that has a lot of volatility, a lot of things going for it, and it also has a lot of hype around their Q4 earnings that they just released yesterday after market hours. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be going into those Q4 results and kind of what they mean and how it's going to affect the stock moving forward. And then, as always, we'll be giving a little bit of a technical analysis, some price prediction, and potential plays that you guys could use to get in on this stock and take it to the moon. But before we get to any of that, I want you guys to go ahead, give a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications so you know whenever we come out with a new video. And I also have my Instagram link down below if you guys would be interested in following that. I post new stuff going on with this channel daily. So if you're interested in that, go ahead, drop a follow on the Instagram. But let's get right into this daily chart on here on AMC on TradingView. We kind of have a little recent of a run up kind of coming up here all the way up to about 1250. We kind of wicked up into that range prior to earnings, kind of leading up to the hype around earnings. We had a lot of analysts raising their expectations, raising their predictions of where they could see this stock in the future. And then obviously after earnings, we kind of dip down a little bit, come back down into the $9-10 range. We're trading currently around 3.5% up today. We seem to be retesting this now support. If we look at it a little closer, it looks like we're just barely dipping below this support that we drew up in the last AMC video that we did. But we'll see kind of how that carries on throughout the day. But let's get right into this Q4 earnings and kind of see what's going on with that. Here on Seeking Alpha, we have AMC gains 1.2% as Q4 revenues beat expectations despite an 89% drop. So it was obvious, we knew that AMC was going to have a big revenue drop. That was to be expected. However, they ended up doing better than what the expectations were, and that is why you kind of see that kind of gap up, why things are going up in the stock price is because they beat expectations. We knew that their revenues and their overall financials weren't going to be great just because of the huge impact that this pandemic has had on their industry and their business. But let's get into this kind of article. AMC Entertainment is up 1.2% in choppy early post-market trading after logging fourth quarter earnings where revenues came in better than expected, despite being a fraction of last year's total. So obviously 2019 was going to be a lot better than their 2020 just because of the pandemic and how they were hit from that. But one thing I also want to take a look at is in the critical liquidity update, AMC says cash at December 31st was $308 million, excluding restricted cash of $13.1 million. Its most recent of many actions in the area where was Odeon Cinemas Group in February entering a 140 million British pound and 296 euro term loan facility, which offered about 411 million in incremental debt capital after paydowns. So that's kind of critical for their liquidity going forward. And I also want to focus on this. That's the most important focus point. CEO Adam Aron says since March of 2020, we have raised approximately $2.2 billion of gross cash proceeds from new debt and equity capital, securing more than $1 billion of concessions from creditors and landlords, raising more than $80 million from asset sales, and seeing $600 million of convertible notes convert from debt to equity. So that's big. That's going to be a lot of gross cash that's going to try to get them past the summer dates so they can start getting reopens of their movie theaters and start generating those revenues and hopefully be back to where they were previously before 2019 or during 2019 before 2020. And also, there's been a lot of news about them reopening, in California, in New York, in these big states. And there's also a lot of states that have been reopening as of late. You think about Texas, Mississippi, Ohio is one of those states that's also looking to reopen. So that's really good looking for AMC because if these states do start to reopen, they will be able to start opening their businesses again and get revenues to where they were previously. And if they get there, those revenues come back, you can then see the stock price to reflect that and it will increase along with it. So watch news for reopenings and AMC theaters kind of reopening as well. That'll be important for this stock price. Um, and also to kind of end here on this article, as of March 5th, the company was operating about 527 of its 589 domestic locations in about 78 of its 356 international locations. So that's great news. If you're looking at just the operations for those locations, they're starting to get those, back up and working again. But let's get into their actual financials. Take a look at that real quickly. Um, to be fair, like we know that these financials are not going to be great. Looking at these key financial results, you're going to see huge drops from the 2019 to 2020, and that's not super important, for the stock price just because this is what's expected. Analysts, investors, they know that the stock or AMC is just not going to be performing as well as in the past. You can see revenue, huge drop, 88% down from 2019. Attendance down 91%. You're just going to see some, not some good results here for 2020 as also year ended 2020. There's just not going to be that many results. One thing I do want to look at also coming out of this is theater reopening update. So during the fourth quarter, the company welcomed millions of guests to its theaters as soon as it was safe to do so and permissible under local, state, or provincial as well as national guidelines. During the fourth quarter, as a result of a resurgence of C cases in many of our international markets, national or regional lockdowns were mandated. As a result, we closed many of our previously reopened theaters in compliance with the lockdown requirements. But they also kind of go into the New York authorizing reopens, which is also great. So you're seeing, there is some buzz that they're going to be reopening as state and local governments allow them to do so. So that is something I think is very important, and that's the probably more important than their, financial results for 2020, just because we know that those aren't going to be good. What we want to know is when are they going to be reopening those theaters? And it looks like there's going to be a lot of buzz, especially with a big state like New York opening up. It's going to be, that's going to lead to other states opening up as well because they are kind of being a larger state. They're kind of like a leader to these smaller states. If New York can be opening, other states are going to look at that and say, oh well, we could probably start our reopening process as well, which is great for AMC because then they can start getting more revenue as they get more theaters opened, filling up that occupancy as well. But coming out of this kind of earnings release, let's go back to the charts and kind of plan out some trades and some possible price predictions where we can see this stock going. Here on the daily chart, we have this kind of support here. We're going to say by the end of the day, hopefully this support holds. If it does not, this would then be our new support. This would be then resistance. However, if this does kind of hold as a support on the daily, we'll be looking to come up to this then resistance at 1020. 1029, and then our next resistance is up here at 17 as discussed previously in our last AMC video. So that's what our kind of view long term on this trade is to get a hold on this support around 1030. We want it to stay above that to show bullish sentiment and then get a break above 1104 for us to continue up to 17. So our first kind of price target would be here at around $11. That's when we would be taking our first partial, and then we have a huge kind of empty area in this because of past price action being so volatile in this area. We're not really sure where price is going to stick, where it's going to consolidate in this area. So the best thing we can do is to go about here where, we see price resisting the most around 17. So that's where we would be taking that. Let's go ahead and look at some shorter term trades that you guys can take if you're not a long-term investor in AMC. This is what I have been kind of looking at here on the 30-minute. If we do get a break below this support, which may be likely for AMC, our next kind of area of key support would be here at the 50 EMA. You can see here yesterday, this was kind of around the low, was where the current 50 EMA is. So that's where we would be then taking it down to around 984. So that would be our next key level of support, the 50 EMA. We would then be taking 1030 as our next resistance line. And then also we have our next obvious resistant line around $11. And another key area I want to um, kind of point out here is around $11.92 to $12. If we go back to the daily, we can see that this would be our empty wick on the 30-minute. So I would be looking for price to, when it breaks above this $11 range, it would be to refill this empty wick here. As we discussed in previous videos, these empty wicks are almost breadcrumbs to where price action can go to. So be looking forward for AMC to kind of fill this wick, and we would be taking profits along the way. And I will kind of plan this kind of trade out for you where I see this kind of heading, give you guys a visual of what's going on in my head. So if we do come back down to test this support, and we do reject off of it, I would then be taking it up to our first price target here at around 1026 of this next resistance, with our stop loss being just below this key level of then support if it does reject off. So we'd be taking up to here first price target. Our next price target after we get a break above would be the next resistance line at $11. We would then have price here at around 1028, and we'd be moving stops to just below the next support line, just to make sure if it does come back down to test this then created support, we would make sure that we get out of the trade and secure profits. We don't want to go to any drawdown or come back down to our uh, entry price, just in case. We want to make sure we're keeping our profits. We don't want to go back into our break even where we came in on. However, if we do get a break above this key level of resistance, which I think we will be coming up here to refill this wick, that is the most likely scenario that I see happening. We would then again, price would be here, and then we move our stop loss continuously, trail this stop loss to ensure our profits. If it does then reject off of this, comes back down, we want to make sure we are keeping those profits, don't go into any drawdowns, and then eventually we don't have any price action above this. If you are looking for short-term trades, I would probably be taking my full position here unless price action does start to come up and fill those huge gaps that we talked about on the daily in this area. Sorry, in this area. If you do see rapid volatility in this area, I recommend getting out. You do not want to be a part of that volatility. I would wait for some price action to kind of show you where it's going to lead you if you are in this short term. If you're in long term, you'll be willing to take some of that volatility. However, if you are a short-term investor, I recommend taking your full position out at around $12. Maybe fill up these wicks a little bit, but that's up to your personal preference. I am not a financial advisor. This is for education and entertainment purposes only, so that will be up to you and your own due diligence. But I think that is all I had today on AMC and their Q4 earnings. But as always, I hope you guys found some value in this video. If you enjoyed watching, please drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and I also have my Instagram linked down below if you would be interested in that. But anyways, I hope you guys get some gains in the market today. Have an excellent day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.